Hello, my friends. When dealing with emotional eating, it's important to recognize that you're actually trying to take care of yourself. I'd like to remind you that you've done the best that you could. You've likely just grasped for the most accessible coping mechanism you could find: food. Whether that's restricting your food or eating beyond comfortable fullness or satisfaction. In this video, I'll cover 4 steps you can take to start healing your emotional eating and 2 examples of how clients I've worked with healed theirs, all identifying information removed, of course. I'm Jenny Bilskie, your food and body image coach. I'm a psychotherapist with a degree in nutrition, exercise, and psychology. I share tips and tricks to help you heal your relationship with food in your body from a physical, emotional, and even spiritual lens, so you find joy and satisfaction in food, your body, and your life. Before I jump in, I'd like to remind you that 2 weeks ago I did a video on the way we might be mistaking biological hunger as emotional eating. That video is linked here, or here, and in the description below. Then last week I did a video on how your relationship with food and shame could be contributing to your overeating. That's also linked here and below. It's important that these 2 things be ruled out. That way we're more confident that we're actually dealing with emotional eating and not something else. Let me start by recognizing that if you're an emotional eater, you're doing it because it has worked for you, at least to some extent. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. You see, eating or restricting in order to soothe or escape pain is likely protecting you from something. Most often, that thing is a difficult emotion you're not sure how to deal with. You might contemplate what emotional eating is protecting you from. So many times the answer is that it's protecting you from feelings you just don't have the resources to cope with. It's not that you've done something wrong, it's just that you literally don't know what to do with this huge discomfort. So here are 4 steps you can try as you navigate through healing your emotional eating, which again includes over-restriction and eating beyond comfortable fullness and satisfaction. Number 1, although it might sound simple, the first step is to identify what that feeling is. What I find is that so many times my clients get swept up in the huge feelings that it doesn't occur to them to get really clear on what that feeling is. Maybe it's loneliness or boredom. Maybe it's disempowerment. Perhaps it's grief. Along with getting clear on the feeling, ask yourself when your bouts of emotional eating occur. Is it at night when you're alone? Is it at work? Is it on work days but not the weekends, or weekends but not weekdays? These time frames may hold clues as to what your psyche is trying to protect you from. Number 2, the second step is to normalize the fact that you don't want to sit with this feeling of, say, loneliness. And honestly, that's super normal. Who wants to sit with that tough stuff? Third, consider that you're not the only one feeling this hard feeling. You might spend a moment reflecting on all the lonely people in the world. Why? Because this exercise connects you to a network that's bigger than you. Knowing that you're a part of a larger network of humans almost instantaneously takes the loneliness down a notch. You might think of what you would tell another person who's feeling this exact loneliness you're feeling. You might verbalize a wish for them. It might sound something like, may you have the love and connection you desire. May you feel safe and at ease. Something like that. Finally, number 4, now that you've identified that it's loneliness or depression or disempowerment or whatever it is, name one thing you can do to reduce that feeling. There's no right or wrong answer. So if it's disempowerment, what is one thing you can do to feel more empowered? Keep it simple. Maybe it's just making your body into a big open shape. That movement and positioning of the body can send messages to your mind that you are powerful. It's important to mention here that just because you picked this new way of coping, you can still use the old way of coping too. You can still eat to soothe your emotions. This is a process, and the eating will subside when you're gentle with it. You don't want to just rip a blankie from a toddler just because you taught them how to, say, sing a lullaby to themselves or something like that. The song is a new thing, and it may not be as comforting as the blankie yet. Let me share with you 2 examples of how this 4-step process works. One of my single parent clients recognized that his emotional eating came at night when he was watching TV with his kids. He identified that he was bored, and Then he normalized and connected to a network of others who had the same feeling at night. His wish was, may you feel wonder and connection with your unique life. Then he chose one thing he could do to reduce the boredom. He identified activities that were more engaging than TV. He and his kids played board games. Sometimes my clients say their episodes of emotional eating are almost like an out-of-body experience. It's like they're aware they're doing it, but they're not aware they're doing it. You know what I mean? It's like they're sort of floating above their bodies and watching the whole thing unfold from the outside. That's exactly what happened in the second example I'm going to share with you. This client found herself gravitating to the pantry after a particular conversation with her partner, like an out-of-body experience. After the eating episode, she was flooded with shame. But what I want you to know is that this exercise is just as powerful after an episode. This client discovered that she was feeling disempowered, like her autonomy was being taken from her. It made her so furious that she'd leave her body. She could come back into her body after the food soothed the painful emotion a bit. You see how that works? Finally, sometimes you can't make the hard feeling go away. Then the question becomes, what's one thing you can do to improve your tolerance for this really hard feeling? For example, let's say it's grief. Is there some support to be sought? Let's say it's anxiety. Is there some breathing exercise or a regulation strategy that helps? So to recap, number 1, name it to tame it. 2, normalize. Of course you don't want to feel this hard stuff. 3, connect yourself to the larger network of other humans who are experiencing this exact suffering and offer a wish to them. And number 4, select one thing you can do to cope with the identified feeling. Listen, changing your relationship with food can be quite nuanced. If you think you may be a binge eater, emotional eater, out of control eater, a restrictor, or if you simply feel obsessed with food, it's helpful to get the help of a therapist that specializes in food and body image issues. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to keep exploring all things food and body, so you want to make sure you get the notifications. So between now and the next video, may you find a little more peace with food and your body. So with a degree in nutrition, expert to get help from a therapist.